watch this video.
Today is gear turn-in day for me. Turn in all the gear that I've collected over the last 4 years of being active duty with the Army, with the 82nd Airborne Division. Go to turn in my gear. They want to charge me $500 to $1,000 for gear that I was ordered to leave in Afghanistan 2 years ago. Because as the last two birds were sitting on the tarmac, ready to leave, there wasn't any room for extra gear or extra weight. Therefore, we were told to leave it.
So you and I have actually talked about this very issue. Now, I absolutely I'm going to start with yes, I rank checked. It's a specialist, right? So E4, probably
E4 Mafia in the house.
single enlistment, right? CIF is a traumatizing thing, and
Central Issuing Facility, for those that maybe
yeah.
don't know. Yes.
So CIF, Central Issuing Facility, is where you get your gear, commonly known as your table of allowances of 50 items, TA 50. I think it's more than 50 items now, though.
It's more than 50. That's data. They need to update that. Yeah.
It's TA 182. But it is known and has the reputation for being ridiculously micro managed and like hard, unbelievably hard to clear. And so any kind of speck of dust, any kind of anything. I mean, I've actually had things that I literally took out of the plastic in their presence get rejected. And it's like, this was issued to me in this plastic. I break the seal of the plastic to turn it in, and in their presence, and it get rejected. This is a long.
Was it safe to say, Toby, when you cleared a place, when you went to a new duty base,
PCS
new
is always,
PCS, you changed the station, or you got out of the Army, but really PCSing from place to place during your Army career, whatever length that is, it is probably the most stressful thing of clearing. Like you're given a checklist of 15 or 20 different things you got to do, and making that CIF appointment and getting ready for that is really what all your clearing's about.
And it is by far the most stressful, the most labor intensive. There's actually services outside a lot of major U.S. installations that will help you, like civilian third party services, companies that will help you clear CIF, will help you like clean your gear, exchange your gear, which is unreal that there's a like a
I did
micro.
not know they had that. Now
There's a whole micro industry based around like clearing CIF because it's so notoriously bad. Now, understand it's probably this service member's first experience with that. It's super frustrating. You've served your time. You're excited to clear or leave base and move to your next assignment or get out and go to college or, you know, the
whatever
job that's waiting for you. And then these people break your heart. And it's a savage heartbreaking, right? Because it screws everything up. It can affect timelines. It can affect order dates. It's like so much. It's such a pivotal linchpin and single point of failure to the process, and it is emotionally just devastating if you don't get a go, and you never get a go. You always have to, plan on at least one revisit, right?
And the people working there are usually the most curmudgeonly old ex retirees, probably didn't even retire, may have gotten out and got a job on base, are sour to everyone. They act like that personally comes out of their pocket, or their pay is deducted for everything, and just they are miserable. I think the only job they could be, I think they get fired from the DMV and they go to work at CIF.
It is the greatest curmudgeon collection on the planet for sure. 100% Karen action.
I think they're mostly pogues because the curmudgeon grunt guys are the ones that go work range control. Is my suspicion.
Yeah, they're like, pick up your brass. Now, so taking this with a grain of salt, right? So this kid's first experience going through this process, it's probably hard. Now, all that aside, there's potentially some real truth to this. And the reason why there's kind of a little tidbit of news attached to it is because it kind of validates something that we know. And or let me rephrase that. It validates something we believe to be true. Um, Now, you and I both had combat loss of gear. Um, Sometimes, like a vehicle, equipment, TA-50, and like usually your
Sensitive
supply sergeant.
items. I mean, all
Yeah,
kind of stuff happens.
yeah. Usually your supply sergeant does a report, a survey, um, attaches a loss letter. Your commander signs it, and like your bivy sack is, like it's a loss. You're not, CIF aren't getting it back. Um, like you were blown up and you you got injured and they cut the boots off your body.
You
Your
woke up in
Nomex suit.
Hohenfels with
Yeah.
nothing.
And so like the these these things happen all the time. It's
And they're called
totally
combat. They're called combat losses. I
combat
mean,
losses, right?
yeah.
Uh, Durable items aren't always durable. Large end items, like sometimes don't make it, but also like you know non durable items are also lost. We have had to rapidly evacuate places in the past, and there's times where like weight balance sheets for aircraft, load plan, like, and you have to jettison uh the most like unnecessary items.
Right.
I remember in 2003 Iraq Christmas, uh our sergeant major delivered an LMTV's worth of everyone's Christmas gifts and mail that we hadn't gotten 4 months, and everyone like got to like open their mail and their Christmas stuff. We had no room on the strikers. We weren't on a base, and the engineer variant, dug a bit of a defilade hole, like a battle position, and everyone threw their shit in there. We buried it, and I'm talking Xboxes, all kinds of. If we couldn't fit it into our load plan, it had to get jettisoned, right? So this stuff happens. What this young soldier is saying, though, and which makes it newsworthy, is that he was directed by leadership to leave crucial gear or non crucial gear behind in Afghanistan as they were the last to evacuate.
Right.
Totally makes sense. It is believable to me, because if I was a leader and I had the opportunity to take another body on my craft, the old saying, like, how many people fit into an LMTV? One more.
One more.
you
That's
know,
right.
like, you know, put your pro mask on your lap, make your buddy happy, like whatever you got to do, get more bodies on. And at that moment in time in Afghanistan, it was about getting bodies on
Well,
planes.
it was also it was a national policy directive, right? The administration wanted everyone out before midnight. They made a commitment to the world they're going to be out. They made it their priority. Which is why we left $64 billion worth of equipment, tanks, helicopters, every M4 you can imagine, other guns, drones, night vision, you name it. We left everything, most of it operational, because they had to be out of there. And it was
Now,
about training the time, not to standard, as we would say. They trained the time. They had to make the time hack. And we saw that picture of the 82nd Airborne Commander, Donnie, walking up that ramp. He was the last one to leave. They had to get everyone on. What you probably didn't see is outside the view in the dark was probably sea bags, duffel bags piled
yeah,
up everywhere.
whatever non-crucial gear was, or even
Yeah.
crucial gear was thrown. Now, the reason why I'm bringing up the newsworthiness of this is it is a well-known fact that we left weapons, gear, equipment by the billions in value.
Pretty
And
much
that's
everything we would consider sensitive or high dollar.
with a B. We're talking helicopters, we're talking vehicles, we're talking small arms, medium arms. We left all this stuff. Like I have a good friend that was working over there at the time, non-DOD, another agency, and one of the last things they did is they were running forklifts on the airfield, puncturing airframes. Yeah, and like this is well-known stuff. But what's the little bit of newsworthiness is recently there's like been certain White House spokespeople walking that back and trying to rewrite history. And they're like, we didn't leave anything behind. We didn't leave anybody behind. And, like, we didn't do that. That's not true. None of that's true. And like Kirby, I'm going to say his name, Mr. Kirby, the spokesperson for the formerly of the State Department, now the White House,
Also retired admiral,
got up in front of the podium and unequivocally stated, we absolutely did not leave weapons, munitions, and equipment behind in Afghanistan, and said that that's a media lie and that didn't happen. That's a Trump talking point. It didn't happen, and it's like it did happen. It absolutely happened, and the Taliban are flying around in Blackhawks.
yeah.
We didn't sell them to them.
They walked around the airfield doing video of the weapons and the vehicles and everything sitting there.
Like they're utilizing some of the small arms in other theaters of combat right now.
In fact, I mean, some of them have showed up in the Gaza conflict.
Exacto. And it's like to try and like stand there and tell, like, I don't understand. Again, back to transparency. We talked about in the last rant. This administration says they're based on transparency because we didn't have transparency in the past. Like, telling us we have transparency isn't transparency. And then where everyone looks up and says, oh man, that's a beautiful blue sky. Actually, the sky's not blue, it's green. We never said the sky was blue. And if you looked up and you saw blue sky, you're wrong. That's fake news. That's a MAGA Republican talking point. Like, no, the sky's been blue since the creation. Period.
And why is the sky blue?
Because God loves the infantry.
Exactly. That's a whole other topic, but yes.
but like it's ridiculous. And the reason this little guy, he's probably taller than me, so I don't know, I'm calling him a little guy. This high-speed paratroopers, little TikToks of value right now on a national platform is because it's kind of validating, like, hey, like, we did do this, and while we're not holding anybody to account in leadership about it, we're making the rank and file pay for their socks that they
which is absolutely asinine when you look at all that stuff we left. Now, we got to admit, full disclaimer, we haven't vetted any of this. I mean, he is an E4, again, not meaning anything.
Might not have had the letter. He might not have,
he may have said, F it, I'll just tell him, and who knows, right? It could be, and I would love to have him on the show. It could be legit. It could
might be like, I'm not giving that bivvy cover back, and I'm keeping this Polar Tech.
Dude, I have every poncho liner I've ever issued. I have every single one. Kept them. I was like, give me the bill. I'll pay it because this just Cho liner, this Whoopie is going with me, and I have every one of them.
I have all my Whoopies too.
There's one in my wife's car. There's one in mine. There are several in the linen closet. They're my, hey, that's if it's cold, the Whoopie got you going. So, but the thing is, I can't imagine, even as curmudgeonly as we talked about CIF and all this stuff, and everyone knowing what happened, that if a soldier walked in and said I was in this, either one, his unit would have given him a letter, or just done it right out of the gate, or he'd walk there and be like, oh, you're part of that. Oh, you're from battalion, whatever, 325 or triple deuce or whatever. Okay, we're good. We already got the command letter blanketing all soldiers. You don't have to, whatever you're missing, that's fine. I just, to me, it's twofold. You and I talked about it. It's kind of too crazy that there's no way it could be true, but at the same time, so much dumb, crazy stuff happens in the Army. It could be true. And they could be asking a soldier for $500 worth of gear when they left, billions worth of gear over there, and it's being ferried all over the world right now. They left, they put a forklift in the side of a helicopter that costs more than the entire battalion's worth of gear, so I can tell you that from my own personal experience that, when I went to Afghanistan, units went to Afghanistan, they had only free ports in Pakistan, right? The Connexes go to Pakistan, and then they get trucked over to Afghanistan to have all of our extra gear in there. Well, guess what the Pakis were doing? They were taking welders, they were cutting open the top of the Connex, lifting the top off, stealing all the military gear, filling them full of rocks, and welding the top of the Connex back on while it's at port in Pakistan. It gets trucked over, it gets weighed, it's everything. The soldiers literally, we opened up Connexes and there's boulders falling out, all gone. They took to the effort of cutting the entire roof off of Connexes and stealing every bit of gear. Guess what? All of it written off, right? Everything. It was everything we went to Afghanistan with written off. But at the same time, Toby, we had legit logisticians, supply people, that when I left Afghanistan, when I got there, they made me sign for my 5.56 and 9 mil. They literally said, well, you got to sign this hand receipt for whatever it was, 95 rounds of 9 mil and a couple hundred rounds of 5. And I was like, why am I like, I'm not turning this in. I'm like, I'm just walking into a combat zone. I'm sure it's going to be gone. They're like, no, you got to sign for it. When I left Afghanistan, they literally pulled that record out and said, hey, do you have this much ammo, 9 mil?
We're going to be 210 rounds of 5.56.
So
45 rounds of 9 mil.
As a first sergeant, I explained class 5 and expendables and all that to them. They're like, we got to have it. I started emptying out more ammo than they ever thought they gave me. And they literally said, first sergeant, this is more than you signed for. Yeah. Well, take it. I can't take it with me on the plane. And I'm like, add it to someone else who's missing something.
Put it towards the next guy's.
Yeah.
Get forward to the next guy's hand receipt.
And by the way, I forgot I had these 3 frags. Here's these 2. And they were like, what? And I'm like, here to set them down. Like, I don't know what you're going to do with those. They literally, they broke out. So I can sit there and say, this could be true.
EOD, because EOD. Call it. No, where's the amnesty box? I'll just drop them in there.
Yeah. They're like, where's the safety ring on that? Like, we take those off, dude. I just got the pin. What? But so they did. They made me and my soldiers sign for a basic load of ammo. They literally handed me a gallon Ziploc bag and said, you want to count it? I said, no. And I signed. They're like, you're not going to count? I'm like, no, I'm not worried about that. I'm going into combat for the next year. A lot more. And when I left, I was like, they said, I'm like, that's more than whatever you issued me. They're like, that's way more. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not counting it. I'm leaving. Really? So I've seen dumb stuff happen. It could, and if it does still I guess that's the Army, right? I guess I can't be surprised.
No, you can't, but it just shows like there's all this bureaucracy. We see this, and like as soon as I saw this video, I was like, I'm sure there's a lot more to it than what this guy is saying. There always is. However,
still could happen.
100% believable.
Yeah. So I would love to get him on, man. I don't know if Rob could ever find this dude, but I would love to have him on a regular show. But the sad thing is, if it's true, and if they really try to do this, hopefully he did not have to pay. And shame on whoever tried to make him pay after what he went through, because we know through our good friend Scott Mann and everything else we've seen and heard, and the Pineapple Express and all that, and the testimonies on the Hill from the Marines and Army that were survivors, that just God forbid that someone tried to make the guys that went through that, the guys and gals that went through that, what they saw, what people you and I know that were there, what they saw in the wire, what they saw at that airfield, to try to just, do that to them and make them pay for their gear. I mean, it's just it's
Wrong
asinine.
Answer. Wrong
Yeah.
answer. All right.
So
That's
hopefully it was corrected. All right. So that's our rant. That's rant number 2 for the year. We'll have more coming to you. So everybody have a good night.